My name is Guitar Gabby. I'm the founder and CEO of the TxLips band, spelled TxLips, gang shit. The TxLips is an international all-black female rock collective. We got about 20 members around the world, and we basically are set up as a triple-facing entity. On one side, we do international touring, filming, all types of cool stuff. On the second half, we do consulting. So the TxLips Consulting Group works with nonprofits in conservation and music, development, contracting, that kind of stuff. And on the third leg, we do education. So through our TxLips Academy programming, we work with different girls' rock camps around the world to teach kids about music business education. And what else? Yeah, I'm a Spelman alumna, also Vermont Law School. I just grew up being outdoors and loving music, so kind of merged all those things into one and started TxLips, and here we are.
Where are you from?
I'm from Atlanta, born and raised. Grew up in Stone Mountain. I went to Chamblee High School. It was real nice. Then it went real left real fast my last 2 years, but it was a good experience. Definitely needed, I needed to learn how to develop a thick skin at a young age before getting to the music industry. So Chamblee definitely gave me a lot of that, but I also was an athlete growing up. I played soccer and ran track. From Atlanta.
When did you start playing the guitar?
I was like 13 or 14. My mom got me my first guitar. Before that, I started playing the clarinet. And it was cool. I enjoyed playing the clarinet, but it didn't really give me the freedom to express the energy that I feel like I was needing to express as a vocalist, as a songwriter, and also just as a musician now, looking back. So my mom got me my first guitar, and I started teaching myself how to play. And yeah, here we are. Like, I don't even know how many years later that is, but it's been a long time. It's been a real long time.
So do you run into any other like black guitarists?
Yeah, I mean, being in Atlanta, from Atlanta, yeah, there's a lot of black musicians out there. There's not a lot of black female musicians out there, which was part of the reason why I started TxLips, because I, didn't see a lot of people that looked like me, didn't see a lot of women in music, and, everybody wants to see someone that looks like them, and it helps to inspire you and helps you, really pursue whatever it is that you're passionate about. So I wanted to be able to provide that platform, not just for myself or for the other musicians in TxLips, but for young girls that were watching me and, maybe years later read about Guitar Gabby and the TxLips and be inspired and, just feel like they can do it because they saw someone else doing it. So, but Atlanta, even in Atlanta, the rock scene is like very underground. So you might find a couple of black musicians, but a lot of them are like R&B players or jazz, a lot of church players as well. But there's not a whole lot of rock guitar players. There is now, because the underground scene is becoming less underground, but like when I first started playing, there wasn't really a whole lot of us. So yeah.
So how did you guys come together?
14 or 15, Diamond from Crime Mob, her management hit me up. They wanted a guitarist. We actually had a rehearsal spot that was around the corner from Spelman. And I started going to rehearsals and saw that they needed a band, told them that I had a whole black female rock band. And they were like, sign us up. Didn't have the band yet. That was none of their business. So I called a couple of musicians that I did know, who are no longer in the band now, but called up those girls, and we just started playing for Diamond. And then maybe almost a full year into that, I was like, this should become more than just a band for Diamond. Like, what if this was something that that evolved into being a platform for all of us to participate in music and playing music when we want, however we want, whatever style we want, without feeling like we have to sacrifice the other hats that, a lot of women have to just wear in life. We having to do 11,000 different things. A lot of times our passions end up getting put to the back burner, and I don't feel like that's fair. And a lot of that came from just watching my mom growing up. I didn't learn that she was an artist until I was an adult. She's an excellent painter, very good at sketching. She's a genius marketer, photographer. I had no idea. And when I got older, started asking her, like, why am I just now finding out about this? Like, she told me, well, you know, when she got out of Spelman, she also went to Spelman. So when she graduated, met my dad, they ended up getting married pretty young. She immediately became a mother. So she had to sacrifice her passions to provide an opportunity for me and my sisters to grow up and, like, you know, be able to explore things and, you know, figure it out, whatever it is that we wanted to do. So I wanted TxLips to be something that people didn't feel like I didn't want the other musicians to feel like it was a burden to them. Because, like, it's not fun. Your passion is not fun if it's a burden or if it's, like, you know. So, yeah, that's kind of how TxLips got started. Actually, a fun fact is when we first got started, we had the same musicians all the time, which was cool at first, but it quickly became a bad model because there are a lot of gigs and, like, other opportunities and stuff that we ended up missing out on because I was relying on the same musicians all the time, and that just wasn't realistic. So that's why I switched it to being a collective model.
So how was it working with Diamond from Crime Mob? Did you put the guitar behind Nuck If You Buck?
I definitely didn't put the guitar behind Nuck If You Buck, but we did play it a couple times on tour. It was real ratchet, but it was a fun experience. That was probably my first experience on the business side of music, because I realized working with her management that a lot of people that are in management in the music industry don't know how to manage different styles of people, don't know how to manage in general, and really have a hard time managing musicians unless you are a musician. So there were a lot of times where we would be on the road and, like, the things that we needed were just not factored in, like sound checks or, like, you know, equipment, all of our backline needs, all of that top to bottom. So I stepped in and said, I'm going to be the band manager and I will relay to you all what my crew needs, and we'll just, like, build it out from there. So that was, like, my first role of being, like, a manager. So it had its ups and downs, but, you know, I'm thankful because it helped me learn a lot about the music business real fast.
How old were you when you made your first song?
Published song or just, like,
Just the first one.
I was probably, like, from what I can remember, probably like 10 or 11. Just writing. Me and my sister, we used to go on the internet, and they would have, like, these websites where you can like have dolls characters, and you can, like, trade out their outfits and stuff, and then put them, like, in a little town, and, like, the little chat, you can, like, chat with people. I don't remember the word I'm looking for to describe that, but we used to go in there because the music was great. So I would listen to the instrumental music while we're playing the game, and we would just write lyrics. And so I wrote this first song. I remember it's called Motor Joy. I don't even know what it was about, but it was a great song. But yeah, it was a great song.
Who has been your biggest supporter so far?
Definitely my parents. And my dad has always been, they've been very supportive, but in different ways. My dad has always been very supportive with helping me understand, like, this is a business. So if you're going to run a business, then you have to learn how to run a business, good and bad. And even when you're managing friends, you know, that can be a real difficult thing sometimes. But if you're going to have musicians in the band that, you know, you're close to or that you're friends with, you got to learn how to manage people and keep it moving. So my parents have definitely been, like, the biggest support system for me.
Give me your top 5 artists of all time.
Ooh, that's hard. Steely Dan has been one of my favorites. I really appreciate the way that they take blues and jazz and, like, all these different genres and package it. So Steely Dan is definitely one of my top 5. Nirvana is also a really big influence on me. I would later learn about Tina Bell, a Black woman who definitely is not given the credit that she deserves for creating grunge. So Tina Bell through Nirvana has definitely been a big influence on me. You know, growing up, the Isley Brothers. My dad always listened to the Isley Brothers, and I really appreciate the songwriting, the skill set of songwriting that is expressed through the Isley Brothers. So definitely that's number 3. I I would say Jimi Hendrix is probably my fourth, not just because of his guitar playing ability, but just because of the fortitude that I'm sure he went through so much stuff being a Black man in, the 60s and 70s playing wicked guitar. So just to be able to read about that as a young Black girl, always very inspiring. And the fifth person, I would say Sister Rosetta Tharpe. But a lot of that, excellent music, but I think a lot of the reason why she inspires me and she's in my top 5 is because, again, I never saw Black women doing anything, and I didn't even learn about her until I was damn near 30. So just reading up on her over time and listening to the way that she used music to express the struggles that not only she was going through, but other Black people in that era, really all of history, have gone through with our music being appropriated and, us kind of being pushed to the background. And she really is like super inspirational to me and just reminds me like of the Black woman that I am in this industry. So, yeah.
So take us through your songwriting process.
It varies. Sometimes I'll just be going through an experience. It might be something that's going on with a client that I'm working with, or it could be a breakup, friendship, boyfriend, whatever. Sometimes I'll just take those experiences and literally just let it come out of me, and I'll just write whatever comes to mind and write the music later. Sometimes I'll hear the guitar riff first. Like recently I wrote a song, I was listening to Rooster by Alice in Chains, and I heard a riff in my head that was inspired by that song. So I wrote the riff first and then came back and wrote the lyrics based off of a different experience having nothing to do with that I was going through. So it kind of varies, but I've learned to let other things not having to do with music influence my writing. And I've learned how to, my dad always told me growing up, you have to learn how to harness your gift. Because if you can't write a song at the drop of a dime, then like, what are you doing? Anybody can create things, but to be able to communicate with someone who doesn't look like you, who's you probably will never meet on the other side of the world, but to be able to communicate through music to them is a powerful gift, but you have to learn how to harness it. So it varies.
Outside of music, what do you like to do?
I love hiking. I have 3 hounds, so recently I've gotten into training my dogs. I love soccer, even though I haven't played soccer in quite some time. I also love running. I really, really, really enjoy running. I think that's like my only space that I'm able to just literally be in my head, and like the wind is like blowing and shit. It's just really nice. I've been trying to find different ways for my creativity to express itself, not just through the lens of music. So I've been trying to get into, back into scrapbooking and like painting. Definitely can't paint as well as my mom, but working on it. So yeah, I like being outside and being in nature.
How was it working with Dua Lipa and Young Thug in the Potion video?
You were there, so it was a little ghetto, but it was fun. It was fun. I think that was definitely one of those experiences that helped me to like sharpen my skill set and stay on my feet, because we didn't get the music until they played it over the speakers like 10 minutes before they started filming. So it was real difficult. And then to be able to have to lead my band and be like, all right, y'all, so this is what we need to do, and just be a leader in that situation was real different, but it was a lot of fun. And the end product was great. It was great.
Why is inclusion, like having people with all different type of backgrounds, important to you?
Everyone wants to see someone that looks like them. Doesn't really matter what color you are. You want to see somebody that looks like you. There are a lot of people that I'm inspired by that aren't even Black. So everybody just wants inspiration. But I think that when we talk about inclusivity and equality, there's just a very large gap with people of color, specifically Black people in the music industry. We're wanted to create the trends, and we're wanted to create the music and to be the entertainment, but we're not on the boards. We're not in decision-making positions. And so over time, we just end up getting lost in the sauce, but not on the levels where we need to be. So inclusion is very important to me, not just on the fun side of things, or like on the, I don't want to say bottom of the totem pole, but like on the side where the entertainment is happening. But it's also super important to me that we're seen, again, on boards of directors, and that we're in positions, not just with titles, but like we have power and decision making. Like, to me, that's equality. When you look around the room and there's like different people that come from different backgrounds, different walks of life, different thought patterns, and different ethnic backgrounds, and we all have equal share in say so, and we all have equal power, like, that's where change actually starts to happen. Outside of that, if that's not there, if that equality and diversity is not there, then I just feel like we keep going in circles. And it just goes back to, so Black people are good enough to be entertainment, but we can't be in the positions of decision making. So that was another reason why my dad growing up was like, if you're gonna be a musician, like, playing guitar is great, but like, that really don't have nothing to do with the music industry. Like, you need to be able to get in a room, get on those boards, and like do what you do and bring in other people that look like you and that don't look like you to like shake things up. So
do you aspire to be like a music exec? But since you've gotten familiar with the managing side and getting more familiar with the business side?
Yes and no. Like, I, on my own terms and in my own world of success, I don't really desire to, I know that I have to play the game, you know, because I'm in the game, but I don't have a desire to like be a part of the game. I don't have a desire to like inspire other young Black girls to take the typical route, or to take the typical route that we're basically expected to take, or that we're told like, you have to take these steps, because everybody's path is different. My path to where I am now was not the same as some of my other colleagues, but we're all successful. So I want to be able to have TxLips become a big company in the industry, but I really want it to be but the word I'm looking for, I want TxLips to be an integral community-based company that is used. I want people to use TxLips to get to where their version of success is. Like, I want the education to be accessible to everybody, not because we're trying to make money. The money is important because we got to run a business, but my end goal is not to like make all this money and keep it for myself. I want TxLips to be a central hub for other musicians, particularly ones of color and from marginalized communities, to come in and feel like they also are inspired and that they can be an inspiration to someone else. That's my end goal.
Okay, so how do you feel about the current state of music?
In general, or like?
In general.
I'm real confused. I'm confused. A lot of but I'm also not confused. Like, some of it makes sense. Like, some of the trends that I keep seeing over and over again, and the sounds. The music industry is fascinating right now. I think we're at a very interesting point where I feel like a lot of labels are looking for quick money, quick artists, you know, get 15, 30 people, you know, in here per week, per month, whatever, you know, let them think they got a couple hits, you know, put them in these contracts. And then before you know it, by next week, we're literally on to a new artist. I can't keep up. It's just too many people and I can't keep up. So I feel like while there's a lot of opportunity that's coming for a lot of artists, which is great, the individuality is getting lost in the sauce, just like with the general way that the music industry is headed. And the pandemic is also like a huge factor in like shifting where we're going with the music industry and like what opportunities are going to look like for people in another like 10 years. So I don't know. I'm real interested to see what direction we're actually going to be headed in and like what's going to happen. But I think that that's also the beauty of learning the business side of the industry and not just the artistic side. You got to learn how to pivot because none of us control the industry. I don't know what's going to happen next week, but I don't fear that because I know that I know how to pivot. Like, I've learned how to master the art of pivoting. So at this point, I'm just waiting for things to happen, but I've learned how to find the constant in everything and let that be what I follow and not the trends and the people, because that's going to keep changing. So, yeah.
If you could collaborate with any other artist, who would it be?
That's a good question. I don't know why I'm about to say this. Could be because I was listening to them while I was driving. Also, I don't even know if they're a group anymore. I'm real confused about that as well, but I would love to collaborate with Migos or whatever iteration they are right now. But I feel like that would be great. I actually would love to see Migos like with a rock edge on their music. I've heard like a tiny step in that direction in some of their songs, but I would love to just like see what it would be like to just have pure rock and roll, particularly my style of grunge, and like how that meets the Atlanta trap sound, like what that sounds like. I feel like that'd be cool. Quavo, Offset, Takeoff, you know, just hit me up. I'm not gonna put my number on here, but you know, at Guitar Gabby, just let me know. I'm from Atlanta, y'all from Atlanta, so let's work.
What separates the TxLips from any other rock band?
That's a good question. Outside of the fact that we're a collective, most rock bands are, you know, like they're gonna get the same musicians for the most part. I think with TxLips, our live shows are always exciting because you never really know what package of different styles you're gonna get. Like the grunge is always there because that's just my writing style for the music, at least that we play for our for TxLips shows. But every musician in TxLips has a different style of playing, has a different training. We have like one of my guitarists, Indigo. She's classically trained, so the texture of guitar that she plays is very different. Like she plays a lot of clean guitar. I like distortion, delay, like dirty that shit up, and like. But I love hearing the two different styles and textures complement each other while they're contrasting each other. So when you take that and multiply that by keys, drums, bass, sometimes I'll have 2 or 3 guitars, add vocals. Like there's just this bag of shake it up. You never know what you're going to get. So that's always exciting. It also can be really difficult to have rehearsal sometimes because, you know, I might be hearing things a certain way and wanting things to happen a certain way, but it's always fun though. It's always an exciting thing. So I think that's what makes us different from everybody else. And we're Black, female, so there's that as well. Gang gang.
So have you ever had like performance anxiety?
Yeah. I've learned how to get in the right headspace that I need to be, but I have to start. Like I'm an Aries, so I'm very type A with things, especially preparation for big things. Recently, I did a show at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium opening for Maroon 5 and Usher. And when I first was given that opportunity, it was in like, I think February. The show was in June. I think it was in June or July, but I was given the call in February. So I mentally started preparing for the anxiety I knew I was going to have in June. I started preparing for that in February. For me, a lot of that is like consistency with my working out, consistency with clean eating, making sure that I'm practicing guitar, making sure I'm practicing vocals, but also making sure that I spend the same amount of time doing things that have nothing to do with music at all. Because I learned about myself that the more pressure I put on myself for getting the solo right, or, you know, what does my facial expression look like on camera, I can get too lost in it. I'm either on or off, you know, so I've had to learn to find that middle ground without losing either side of it. So I definitely get performance anxiety, but I've just learned, you know, they're just people like me, and we all mess up, so let's just have fun.
So what are the qualities of a good musician?
I think being able to pivot and learning how to listen and follow. A lot of people say, you know, being a good musician means that you have to play all these scales all the time and like that's great, but being able to audibly connect with someone that you've never met before, or like connect with people at a show, and sometimes we have shows and I come in thinking, okay, you know, we're gonna do the show this way. I have everything planned out. But then we get to the show and I see somebody in the audience, I see their facial expression, or I'll see people are not dancing as much as I thought they were. So now I have to switch gears. So I think part of being a good musician, part of being a good artist is being able to pivot and being able to listen, follow, and also lead in some regard, which can be difficult to do. But I mean, definitely being able to play your instrument is obviously important. But I think that the key principles that come from that are discipline, pivoting, and consistency, which is very difficult for any of us as humans. So I definitely think those are like some of the qualities. And truthfully, for me, being a young Black girl growing up waiting for different opportunities to come, doing different gigs, joining different jam sessions. Because most of the guys that were there were men, I didn't always feel comfortable having the opportunity, or I didn't always feel comfortable walking into those spaces and playing, because I felt, well, what if my skill set is not up to par with their level? Or, what if they think that I'm not a good guitarist, and then, I'm the only girl there and I'm the only Black one. So there'd be a lot of anxiety that I would put on myself. But then I started to realize that a lot of these cats that are definitely excellent musicians don't know anything about the business side of things. And it's difficult to create sustainability in your art if you don't extract the principles of what it is that you're doing. Anybody can memorize how to play notes on a guitar, but why are you doing this? Like, do you know how the instrument works? I used to take the guitar, how I learned was I took it apart and figure out how to put it back together. It wasn't just about the playing. I wanted to know, how does this thing work? How is it built, and why? For me, the more that I understand something, then the more excited I get about it and the more passionate I am. And for me, it's easier for me to execute the mission. And for me, the mission of playing guitar is not playing as fast as I possibly can. For me, the mission is, can I connect with someone who has had a similar experience, who's had to break up like I had, who has to deal with crazy people at work? I want to connect with those people. And the way to do that is not always through shredding as fast as you possibly can. It's about, can you show principles that you've learned through life and connect with other people who also have those same principles and sometimes the same values. So,
do you think R. Kelly deserved 30 years in prison?
Mm-hmm.
And why?
What are you doing? Like, what were you thinking? What do you do? Like it was like it's habitual, or like what? His whole life and story is complicated. The human side of me, well, I guess I am a human, so the whole part of me, but humans go through things. I'm not excusing it at all. Let me make that very clear. But humans go through things. And I think that it's easy for all of us to look at a situation or look at a person and judge, because that's not something that you would do, which is great. None of us should probably do what he did. But for me, the question that I kept coming back to is, what behavior, like why, what in your life led you to these behaviors that we're now publicly seeing, but the many years prior to that we didn't see? Like some of the behind the scenes things that we would never see. What things led up to the behaviors that you exhibited? Basically what I'm saying is that all of us as humans have things that we go through. Sometimes those things are public, sometimes those things are not public. As an artist, as a musician, as people that are always in front of the camera, it can be difficult to remain true to your values, especially in the music industry. It can be very difficult to remain faithful to your values and to your core and who you are and the things that you go through in life. All of us, the things that we go through in life influence the behaviors that we exhibit. I think that whatever he was going through in his life obviously led him to exhibiting the behaviors that we publicly would see later on. But I also think that's where accountability comes in at every stage in life. As a friend, as a parent, as your music manager, as a musician, whatever, there have to be stages of accountability. And sometimes I feel like in the music industry, those stages of accountability and like holding true to some sort of value is just not something that the music industry is interested in, because that doesn't sell. The industry wants you to act a fool. The industry wants you to do all this kind of stuff. They make money off of all of the publicity. So I definitely think he needed to go to prison for as long, as he was sentenced. But it also makes me think, what are the moments in life that we all have gone? It makes me think, what things in life have we all gone through that cause us to later exhibit behaviors? I'm trying to, it's like in my head, but it's just not.
Childhood trauma is basically
childhood trauma. But I'm saying, like, especially as Black people, like, we don't really talk about therapy, trauma. Like, we just bury it under the rug and keep it rolling.
Right.
But like he's not the only one, unfortunately. He's not the only one in the world who has done egregious things like that. So I just think as people, as Black people especially, we need to have conversations more. We need to check in on each other, especially with our Black men. You know, are you good? Like, where are your emotions at? Like, let's talk. We need more of those moments so that 10, 15 years from now, I'm not seeing you on the news and I'm like, so what had happened?
Do you think people should separate the music from the artist?
I think it's a very difficult thing to do. I think it's a very thin line. But I do think that, that's a hard one. Because on one hand, I'm like, yeah, like we need to separate. Because, I mean, there was like a young girl that's on the receiving end of this. But then you listen to throwbacks and you're like, I love this song. This is such a huge part of Black culture. It's difficult. It's very difficult. It's a very thin line. But that goes back to like the accountability piece that I think all of us have to keep in mind in the music industry. They don't really give a shit about your feelings. They don't care about the childhood trauma that you're going through. But as friends and as a community of Black people, you know, that's where we can step in and support each other more.
Did you tell me you had something with Roc Nation coming up?
So basically, I don't even know how much I can even say. I don't think it's like a secret. I won't say the name. Basically, Long Island University, Roc Nation Film School in Long Island University, has this program that they do every year called the TV Writer Studio. And so recently I was reached out to partner with the school to produce music for the TV Writer Studio. They're doing like a pilot series. And I don't know if I can share the storyline, but it is a show that is going to be essentially modeled. The story is going to be my story. It's about a young Black girl who, similar to me, went through a lot of different things, wanted to, you know, have this career in music, the ups and downs, all of that kind of stuff. So I do have some music that's going to be placed in that. So we're also working on music videos and all that kind of stuff. But I also did recently just land the lead role in that series as well. More to come on that, because I don't know if I'm talking too much.
Dinner with Jay-Z or 500K?
Can the 500K, because I'm trying to invest that so I can get double that in a few years. And I'm sure I'll meet Jay-Z at some point. Yeah, I'm pressed about that.
Do you have anything coming out? Shows?
Actually,
music?
Yes.
Anything?
Yes. Netflix and Jordan Peele have a film coming out called Wendell Wild. We contributed music, so I have a song that was placed in that called Another Tear. And also the main character, Kat, her development was based off of my image. And so that film is going to be coming out October 28th on Netflix, available for stream. It might be on other platforms as well, but it's Netflix, so Netflix. And then we're going to be doing a remastered re-release of the song Another Tear that was placed in that. And that's also coming out on October 28th. So October 28th, Wendell Wild, TxLips Gang, Pussy Power. The last thing that I'll say is just like an encouraging thing. Like, if you don't know the business behind music, I definitely encourage anyone who is, let me rephrase that. I encourage anyone who is pursuing a career in music to, not just in music, anybody who's pursuing life, I definitely encourage you to learn the business behind whatever industry you're going into, because this is a very vicious world, and it can be difficult to navigate through things, especially as a woman of color. But, you know, just a reminder to people to stay true to your values, stay true to who you are, and learn. Definitely hit up TxLips. You know, I'm an open book. Things that I've learned, I'm willing to share. So.
And how do people get in contact with you?
That would be important. At Guitar Gabby on all social media, or our website is www.TxLips.com. It's pronounced TxLips, but it's TxLips. So yeah, those would be the two places. And I mean, people can DM me with limits. You know, some of y'all be getting a little out of pocket. But, you know, hit me up at Guitar Gabby.
Do you feel like you did before?